I'm joined by Mr. Nikhil D. He is an RTI activist. Thank you, Mr. D, for joining us. My first
Thank
question to you is there is a rise in number of first appeals as per CIC's report. So, what does this actually mean?
So the rise in number of first appeals is not a good sign at the first instance, because the first appeal arises after people do not get information. And it arises when they really are not satisfied and they have to pursue their case. Now, the first appeal is a mechanism that was put into the law because it's within the department. So the idea is the department sort itself out. And over a period of time, the number of first appeals should go down, not go up. It is a measure that should allow the department to know that more and more people are filing first appeals, which means more and more people are not getting the information they need, and therefore they are coming in first appeal. And sometimes when there's great resistance, then the first appeal is pointless because the whole department doesn't give information and then goes to second appeal, and it clogs the system even more. So while RTI came in with one particular section, Section 4, which is proactive disclosure, saying in quotes that so much information should be given so that there should not be a need for people to file RTIs at all. But we are moving in the opposite direction, where people are filing RTIs, not getting information, and filing larger numbers of first appeals. And that's not a good sign at all. The other side of it is, of course, that we have for a long time been saying to departments that if there are a large number of first appeals, you should review it at a department head level, and you should ask questions of the public information officers. Why is it that you didn't give information or give it on time? So that people had to go through a first appeal, because actually those who are using RTI are helping the government and helping the state in better governance.
So, you said that people file RTIs and first appeal when they do not get proper information. So, not getting replies to RTIs, what does this say about state of democracy?
Well, there's much to be said about the state of democracy, but it does say that RTI was one of the most important things post-independence to deepen democracy, to strengthen democracy, and to increase citizens' participation in democracy. And people filing RTIs, and larger numbers of people are filing RTIs, shows that people are keeping they are carrying out their duty vis-a-vis democracy. They're asking questions, they're demanding answers, they're trying to give suggestions. And RTI is the first step. Without that, it's a basis on which you both express yourself, and you express yourself with an understanding after seeking information. So it absolutely should be encouraged. So if you're not giving information, it's an indication actually of a big signal from above. It's a signal from above because PIO is the biggest part, one of the strongest part of the Indian law was that it has a penalty clause, which is a personal liability on the PIO themselves, which is what made RTI work. They were worried that after 130 days, if they didn't give information, there would be an appeal and there would be fines and penalty on them from their pocket. And we have in fact been saying that that should become part of their service record. If that happens, they would be only too happy to quickly give information rather than have that come on them. Now there is so much pendency at a level of second appeal, particularly because that's where penalties can be given. First appeal, even if it's not sorted out, you can automatically go in second appeal after a time frame of roughly 45 days. So this is something that in a sense is a clear indication from the highest places that instead of making RTI function better, you are telling people, okay, you can take it easy, you can be casual, you don't need to answer. If you don't answer, you will not pay the consequences. You have impunity, and that's a very terrible sign for democracy.
As you say, there has been a casual attitude towards RTIs. So, how well is RTI Act implemented in our country, if you see in brief?
So the implementation is on the state. Obviously, when there are more first appeals, it's a first reminder that the state is actually not answering RTIs the way that it should be. And that's a very bad scenario. RTI implementation has many other parts to it. The further part is the information commissions. They are the highest authority. Many of their posts are left vacant. They have been weakened through amendments. Proactive disclosure, which is a duty on the departments and the public authorities, they have hardly done proactive disclosure the way it should. So barring a few bright sparks of some good bureaucrats and some good places, most of the places RTI implementation has been poor. But the bright side of it is that the movement has not lagged. People have not stopped, even though they've been killed, even though that they have been attacked, even though they are not given answers, even though that they spend time in first and second appeals, years in second appeals in some cases, they still do not give up. So democracy in India is saved by the people. RTI's implementation is pushed by the people. And organizations such as ours, for instance, say we won't file first appeals. It's your job to give information in 1 month. And because we have a group, we say we will sit in front of your office until we get the information, because you tell us. Does the law tell you, does the law make it a duty for you to give us information or not? But everyone is not fortunate to have an organization to be able to say that, no, why should we go to an appellate process? We go to an appellate process when there is a dispute over the law. Does the law allow me to get information or not? But most appeals in India are through just very casual responses, through people not carrying out their duty.
You just said that the commission is weakened. Why do you feel that the commission is weakened? What is the reason and what is the way forward?
So the commission is, in a sense, like a backbone to the RTI. It is the highest authority related to information. It's supposed to be independent. And the commission can ask any office in the country, whether it's the presidents or the prime ministers or the chiefs of armed forces or anyone else, low or high, to provide information. And it is supposed to, in a sense, act on behalf of the citizens' access to information. So it's a very powerful, independent regulatory body that's been put in place to make sure that transparency becomes the culture in the country. It's clearly been weakened because there was a feeling that it was too senior. So when the amendments took place, that was a clear debate. The commissions used to be deliberately plugged at a level of the election commission, which again becomes the highest authority at the time of elections. And that was deliberately downgraded. And the commissions were made subservient, even state commissions, to the central government and setting terms and conditions for the commission. How long, the tenure, selection process, all that. And the salaries and equivalent things were lowered. So it's clear that what troubled them was that the commission should become not so powerful. Now, the other way in which the government can undermine the commission is by not appointing commissioners. So places like Jharkhand don't have a single commissioner. And they've been asking all through. And if you don't have a commissioner, the act, unless the person at the lower level gives you the information, appeals become meaningless because they are stuck without a commissioner at all. So it is an essential part of the body of RTI. And for it not to function, an essential part of it. And commissions themselves, the appointments to them, the appointment committee is of course loaded in favor of the government. That's the prime minister, leader of opposition, and one member of the cabinet. And inevitably, we have had less and less independent commissioners, and therefore more and more either delays in the commissions or processes by which sharp questions are not answered as easily. But it's not just at the highest big ticket level, in a sense of either policy or corruption or breakdown in governance, that answers don't come. When commissions become weakened, then the entire structure becomes weakened. And the impunity, as I said, of the public information officers increases, and they say, "Okay, information has come if it's inconvenient. I mean, and the RTI has come if it's inconvenient to give it, let's not give it. We know it will take years. We know we'll frustrate these people. And we know at the end of the line, we still won't have to pay the price for it."
Can you please share a case study where, like, either you have filed an RTI and you're fighting for it to get the response since then, or any such cases?
So yeah, if you combine this with an attack, one is a question of delay. And that millions of people face all over, but it's credit to the people of India that they pursue it. It should come in 30 days, it may take 6 months, 1 year, but they don't leave it. And that's the strength of our citizens in our country, because they're not being paid to do this. They're doing this of their own volition. But the much more dangerous situation and the shocking, sad situation is that many RTI people who pursue, even though they don't get RTI information, but pursue it because there is a matter that's important, and most of these matters concern public issues. They are attacked. And first they are threatened and they don't give up, then they are attacked and even killed. So the information commissioners have already passed a resolution. And that resolution says, because there was a provision put into the rules that anyone who asks an RTI and is in appeal and dies for whatever reason, that appeal will cease. Now that made it even more convenient. It would close that matter altogether. So what has come about is a situation where a resolution was taken that the information commission of anyone who is attacked and killed will get the information and put it in public domain. We have gone one step forward to say that anyone who was attacked and killed for asking for information on corruption, there should be a special team formed by the government to bring out the issues they were raising, whether it was of land or it was of mining or whether it was of panchayats and expenditure on panchayats, or whether it was on medical colleges getting, I mean, there are a million questions, everyone is asking RTIs to try and get the system to function better, or whether it's universities or the road in front of me, or the park in front of me, or my water supply, or my electricity, whatever. So when they are attacked, most often many people must be getting scared, but these are people who refuse to give up. And even though they were killed, then it becomes our duty. And there is a whistleblower protection law that's been passed by the government, by the parliament in 2014. Shockingly, 9 years later, it has still not been notified. So that which would have given some relief to those families, some relief to the people asking RTIs, that is also a weakened part of the structure. So yeah, we have a general scenario against transparency, accountability, people's participation, which is what democracy is.
What is the way forward to make RTI Act more accessible?
Yeah, so I don't think a lot of people say, should the RTI Act be amended? It's not that it's a perfect act, but all of us for the last, since 2005, so almost 18 years, have said that this is an act that should be implemented better. It's not that it needs amendments. And we are scared that if we were to suggest 2 better amendments, they would bring in 10 bad amendments. Because the one time they've amended it, despite a lot of opposition, at that time also, the whole effort was to weaken the act. So, and they did succeed by weakening the commission itself. So we think that the best way is actually to concentrate very heavily on proactive disclosure. The question that you started with, to say that you evaluate that if there are more first appeals being filed against particular people and you find it's unjustified, take action against those PIOs. Bring in a culture of transparency, because it's not just that people have to spend all their years and lives. We must get into a scenario where actually information is freely, openly available. There are many improvements that can be made primarily in implementation of the RTI Act.